Welcome today. My name's Carol Wyatt Evans, and I'm the Chemicals and the Environment here at the IFAS Extension, Sarasota County. We're so happy to have you today for our green cleaning program. And with me today is Dr. Maria Ramito, and I'll let her introduce herself.
So thanks, Carol. I'm the Family and Consumer Sciences Agent here at our office, and I teach a variety of classes as well as Carol. Getting ready to do closing up your Florida home, preparing for a disaster, a weather disaster with hurricane preparedness, and as well as a bunch of other classes. But all of our classes are listed on Eventbrite. But thank you for joining us on this beautiful day, and we hope that you enjoy the class. So should we get started?
Certainly.
Okay, I am going to share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so let me start back. This presentation is going to be recorded. So if you miss anything or if you're taking notes and we're talking too quickly for you, no worries. We will be posting this recording in the next week or two. So if you're not familiar with Zoom, there is a chat button at the bottom where you can click and type in any type of question that you have. And then, of course, on the left side at the bottom, there is your unmute and video. And since there's only a few of us, maybe at the end, instead of typing in our chats, we might just open it up. And if you have any questions, we can answer them at any time. So today we're going to talk a little bit about green cleaning. And what it is cleaning to protect our health without harming the environment. And here's some of the things that we'll be covering today. What is green cleaning, defining it, and some things to consider of why we should go green. What products do we use? And what are some of the downside of traditional cleaners? Then Carol take up talking about marketing ploy of greenwashing, a little bit about antimicrobial soaps, and just some general tips on how we can keep our home a little bit healthier. So what is green cleaning? In just simple words, it's reducing the need for products containing harmful chemicals. And in the process of green cleaning, we still can remove particulates like dirt. We can remove bacteria and viruses. And it also, green cleaning includes controlling the moisture levels in our home that can cause mold. So many traditional cleaners do contain toxic chemicals. And with these toxic chemicals can come respiratory problems, reproductive health issues, cancer, skin and eye irritation. And generally, it just is very harmful to the environment as well. And a Harvard School of Public Health reported that 80,000 to 100,000 chemicals are in global use. Perhaps 25% of those could be capable of harming our human brains, especially our children who have developing brains. So think about when you use products in your home. Do you experience any kind of eye irritation or respiratory tract irritation where you begin to cough or sneeze? Do you experience a headache? And maybe not at the beginning of spraying a product out of the can, but maybe just minutes afterwards, that lingering odor might cause headaches. But there's also dizziness and visual disorders, as well as can be memory impairment. So another reason why we should go green is thinking about our children or grandchildren, because in proportion to their body size, children do breathe, drink, and eat more than we do as adults. And their behavior puts them more at risk for exposure because they're on the ground more often. They're crawling or they're eating food from the ground or playing, lifting up their toys, putting it in their mouth or just playing with them in their hands. And just generally, they are closer to our flooring material and their bodies are still developing. So reasons to make the switch to go green cleaning, well, you'll find out in a couple of slides that most of the products are pretty easy to make, very inexpensive compared to store purchased toxic chemicals. Pretty much they're non-toxic. You don't have to wear any type of eye protection or skin or face equipment. And the bonus is that it does decrease the risk of any lung, eye, or skin irritations. So there's some products that we should pay attention to, especially if you are going to be replacing certain items in your home, like flooring is a big one. But take a look at these logos and you'll see in a couple of slides ahead when Carol talks about greenwashing, how similar these logos look. And of course, up at the top here, we've got the Carpet and Rug Institute certification. And with that, it just ensures that the rug that you are purchasing has the lowest emitting gases and uses the least adhesive and cushion production that sets off the off-gassing that's on the market. Then we have the Green Seal, which is the blue globe in the center. It was established in 1989, and it is a nonprofit. It is science-based, and it does protect the products that would contain, would protect any type of aquatic life, and most of those products would be biodegradable. Then we have the Green Guard, and that was established in 2001. And when I did some research on this, I was surprised that these logos have been on the market for a long time. I mean, this is not a brand new situation that we're in. Our country has been thinking about this for years. But the Green Guard enhances indoor air quality, and it does reduce exposure to chemicals and other pollutants. And it just certifies that the product materials that are used for production are low in chemical emissions. And you'll see that a lot on cleaning products, building construction, and also in some of the office equipment. You know how you can purchase a desk and then you put it together? That's where you would look for that Green Guard label. And then we have the Eco logo, which was established in 1988. And this one, which I try to remember by the kind of maple leaf, but it's really not. It is actually the three birds twined together to form what looks like a maple leaf. But that was established in 88, and it is America's largest and most respected of all the logos. And that's because to receive that is not only expensive for the company, but there are some very strict standards that need to be followed. And again, it's used for cleaning products. You'll see it for office materials, some health and beauty, electronics, and again, building and construction. So anytime you go to make purchases, look for these logos. But again, there's always a trade-off. You most likely will be paying a bit more for an item that has this type of certification. So choose your cleaning products with care. So you want to always read the label and try, if at all possible, to buy the least hazardous product. So look for wording like danger or poison, warning, flammable, combustible. I mean, those all tell you that there are some ingredients in there that you will need to use in a well-ventilated area. You might need to use rubber gloves or have a mask. And if at all possible, try to purchase things that are unscented. And if you can't get it unscented, mildly scented. So here's some dangerous ingredients that can be included with those warnings. If it's an oven cleaner, sodium hydroxide and potassium hydroxide, disinfectants. And we've heard a lot about disinfectants now with COVID, but our go-to usually is ammonias, certain detergents, Cresol, lye, and so forth. And in window and glass cleaners, again, isopropanol and ammonia. And drain cleaners have, of course, lye, which can be very dangerous. Bleach, we've heard a lot about using bleach, how to use bleach. And I have found out from my classes, because I do a lot of food safety, and people use bleach without thinking about correct proportions. So when we talk about using bleach to sanitize, we're talking about 2 teaspoons for a pint of water. So very, very small amounts do the job. What I was finding in the classes was that people were just mixing indiscriminately amounts of bleach and mixing it with a little bit of water. It doesn't take a lot of bleach to do the job. And then, of course, our mold and mildew removers. And again, there are other things, that ingredients you can use that are green in place of using bleach, and in place of those phenol and kerosene for mildew and mold removing. So we want to think just beyond the chemicals. Think about other things that you have in your home. We all vacuum. So think about using a high filtration vacuum cleaner, those filters. I know they're expensive, but they really do a good job of collecting the dust and dirt and keeping them inside the vacuum, not re-releasing them into the air. Again, think about those microfiber cloths or mops or even paper towels. They do a wonderful job of collecting and holding the dust and dirt and not just having it fly around. And again, the Carpet and Rug Institute for good label certification for any type of flooring. So here's just briefly just some nice things that most likely you might have already in your pantry. And I should say, with these photographs, by no means are we promoting these companies. These are just photographs that I could find. And so any type of vinegar will do, as long as it's 5%, has 5% acidity, and you'll find that in the back of the label, sometimes in very small print. So you don't need to always buy the boutique brand. You're sometimes better off and far more economical to purchase the generic brand or the store brand. But here are some examples of safe and effective cleaning products. So if you are thinking about going green, look in your pantry, and this will be the basis of all the mixtures you will need to make. If you have baking soda, white vinegar, borax, lemon or lime juice, hydrogen peroxide, and table salt. Table salt and baking soda, they add the grit to whatever mixture you're making. So if you're getting off, trying to get off mold or mildew, you'll be adding that product to the recipe. And I should stop here and say at the end of our class, we will be I'll send out some recipes that include these ingredients for a variety of cleaning items for your home. So you will get those recipes towards the end of the class. So mold and mildew. We know that borax inhibits mold growth, and you can wash your bathroom walls with it. You can sprinkle it in under your cabinets, under your sink. But for stubborn mold, you want to always use that hydrogen peroxide with that baking soda, again, to create that little bit of grit, or hydrogen peroxide and borax. And like with anything that's non-toxic, it's not a spray on, wipe off experience. It's a spray on, let it sit, let the product do its job. So it might need to stay on for 5 to 10 minutes. And then you might need to apply a little bit of elbow grease, because increasing the pressure when cleaning or using a sturdy brush or a good, stronger sponge will help clean off the remaining portion of whatever you're doing. So give it time. It's not a quick acting solution to a situation. So for air fresheners, some good examples would be baking soda and lemon juice. And, think about, when you enter your home and somebody's been making spaghetti sauce or been cooking and they've been frying onions, how wonderful that smell is when you enter your home. Or potpourris, those kinds of things. But you can make your own with simple air fresheners like baking soda and lemon juice. And a good idea is to buy some empty spray bottles. And I really recommend purchasing new bottles and labeling them accordingly. But you never really want to take an old used bottle that contained a chemical and add a new cleaner to it, especially something like an ammonia bottle and then adding bleach to that empty ammonia bottle. It will still create a toxic gas. So get nice, clean bottles, label them appropriately, and begin to have fun creating your recipes. But for an air freshener, again, cloves and cinnamon and create all those wonderful different scents. But you can also create floor cleaners and furniture polish and laundry detergents. When my children were young and we were a family of 5, I was doing laundry a lot. And one of my children is a boy, and I don't want to, be gender specific, but boy, he was outside all the time and brought the outside inside all the time. So I did make laundry detergent, and I will give you that recipe. It makes a lot, I will say that. You can use that recipe for both top loaders and front loaders. It does a great job for really just pennies compared to what you would purchase out on the market. And it is good, it lasts. So even though it makes a lot, it will last for months before you need to worry about it decreasing in its ability to clean. But we'll talk about some stain removers, some glass cleaners, and then some scouring powder mixtures that you can make as well for those more difficult, stubborn stain areas.
Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit. So talking about all-purpose cleaners, but let's talk about houseplants for a minute. So we love to use houseplants as a way to bring nature into our homes, but plants not only brighten our day, they make us feel good, but they also help to clean our air. Thanks to some research findings by NASA scientists who were interested in this potential of the plants to help clean air, we now know that many popular houseplants are actually really good at removing some of those toxins that often are found indoors. So since NASA's initial research, further studies have been done looking at these air cleaning abilities of different common houseplants. So researchers have discovered that it's not only the plant itself, but it's also the microorganisms that live in that potting soil that also do a fair job of cleaning the air. But the thing about this is it only works if you don't have leaves and other debris covering that topsoil. So make sure you remove those items from the top of that soil. But some of the important chemicals that plants have shown to be able to scrub from the air are things like formaldehyde. This is a common ingredient in like wood resins and detergents. Benzene is a really common product found in many of our plastics and synthetic fibers. Acetone, which many of us know as nail polish remover, but this also allows, in other products, it allows for quick drying of things like paints and varnishes. And then ammonia is a common ingredient in a lot of our household cleaners. And then finally, carbon monoxide. So carbon monoxide is a deadly odorless gas that's formed by the combustion of gasoline. So it's created in things like car exhausts, right? The exhaust from cars, generators, grills, and gas heaters. So all of these things have, that combustion of gasoline in common. So although houseplants really do have a lot of benefits, so you have to remember that flowering plants produce pollen. So if you are sensitive to pollen or you have a lot of allergies, you're going to want to choose a foliar plant versus a non-flowering plant. But there are plenty of houseplants to choose from. A few of those, for just a starting point, that do well indoors are things like these spider plants. So spider plants are really easy. Peace lilies are really easy. And this spider plant actually is, I threw this in because this is my spider plant. And I don't really have a green thumb. And this just shows you how easy it is to grow spider plants. This plant actually is outside now because it became so big, but it has come with me from, I'm a Californian. It came from California in 1999. So this thing is very prolific and easy to grow. So are these peace lilies are quite easy. But other things that clean the air that we know of are things like aloe vera. So the juice from the aloe vera plant also is used many times to ease pains from like minor burns, such as sunburn, as well as minor scrapes. And then Chinese evergreens are really good air scrubbers. And the Dracaena marginata is also another plant. It's called the dragon tree. These grow, if you're from Florida, these are prolific outdoors and indoors, but others are things like philodendrons. So Hartley philodendrons and hybrid philodendrons. So those are just a few, but you can find a whole list of common air scrubbing houseplants at gardensolutions.com. But we'll have that at the end as well on the PDF we give out to you. So moving on, we want to talk about a thing called greenwashing. Now that we'll go over a few things that consumers need to pay attention to and be aware of, and that's, I'm referring to a thing called greenwashing. So greenwashing is the spread of false information, which is intended to mislead the consumer by presenting as an environmentally responsible organization or product. So really, things are not as they appear. A good rule of thumb is always to be cautious and not believe everything you read or especially see. And I'm referring to things like stamps of approval. And those are things that can be found on the product packaging. So stamps of approval can be found on legitimate green products, but stamps such as these, things like 100% organic, the green check of approval, 100% pure, natural products. So these type of things, they are meant to mislead the consumer into believing that the product actually offers something that it really doesn't. Remember earlier, Maria gave information regarding like the Carpet and Rug Institute Green Label, as well as the Green Label Plus. Well, those were legitimate stamps. But these types, as these that I just pointed out, these stamps are very vague and they really don't mean anything. So when you say 100% organic, well, that can mean just about anything, 100% pure, green check of approval. So these really just draw your eye to the product itself, right? So there might be hundreds of products on that shelf and they want to get your attention. So they're going to throw in these stamps of approval. But remember that only 2% of products that are labeled as green are truly and completely legitimate in their claim. So that means that 98% of those products are either dishonest or they're flat out, producing a false claim. So greenwashing products are all around us, which is a great thing. But unfortunately, so is this greenwashing. So again, greenwashing means an exaggeration or misrepresentation of green products in their marketing and branding, conveying this false sense of, false impression or information. So some of the greenwashing marketing terms that are commonly used are things like natural, eco-safe, ozone friendly, earth friendly, biodegradable, environmentally safe and friendly. So other claims to be aware of and to look for are words such as like degradable, compostable, and CFC free and recyclable. Well, the one that really bothers me is this CFC free. Well, CFCs are chlorofluorocarbons. So this is the stuff that was previously used to keep our refrigerators in our home and our car ACs cool, right? So CFCs were added. But CFCs were banned in the United States in 1996. So if a product states that it's CFC free, I certainly hope it's going to say that because they are legally required to be CFC free at that point because it's a federal ban on using that product. So that's where we say things are not always what they seem. So being educated regarding products will empower you, the consumer, to make good choices for you and your family. So always read the label, right? That when they put that label on the very back, it's going to really tell you what that product is. So, just be aware of these product labels or the greenwashing labels that might be on those products. So let's go over a few things about greenwashing. So there's this thing called the 7 Sins of Greenwashing. So there's a website that's an excellent resource regarding greenwashing. But if you just Google 7 Sins of Greenwashing, you're going to get a ton of responses that will lead you to the information. Research was done by an environmental marketing company called TerraChoice, and this was in 2007, that studied the environmental claims made on products because all of a sudden, it kind of was that era of, everything saying how good they were. Well, TerraChoice really wanted to see if they walked the talk, right? So the one thing is TerraChoice was purchased by the UL, which is the Underwriters Laboratory, fairly recently, within the last 5 years. But the UL is that logo that you see on a lot of your home products. And that is definitely a label that you should trust. And it is, it says that product is a good product. So the UL label or logo is a good logo. But the results of TerraChoice's study led to the creation of this website that helps consumers identify products that have misleading claims on them. And examples of those 7 sins of greenwashing. So the first one we'll talk about is hidden trade-off. So does the product focus on only 1 or 2 environmental issues while totally ignoring others? So the term environmentally friendly. So when describing paper products, although they may, they'll say environmentally friendly paper product, but they'll use chemicals to process that paper, or they ignore the greenhouse gas emissions that are created during that paper production. So this is really a hidden trade-off, right? There's some bad things behind that purportedly good thing. So no proof. No proof refers to unproven environmental claims. So a product might state that there's a certain percent of post-consumer recycled content, but it doesn't prove where that recycled content is from. So you really have no idea if that's a true claim or not. And then vagueness. Vagueness is it's poorly defined statement or too broad, like that statement of all natural. So if you think about it, technically arsenic is all natural. But you certainly would agree that arsenic is something you would not assume is safe to use, correct? So natural does not necessarily mean it's green or it's good. So the lesser of two evils. So this claim itself may be true, but the greater environmental impact is completely ignored. One of my favorite things is kind of the fuel efficient SUV. Now, I'm not really harping on SUVs. I have a small SUV myself. I have 2 large dogs, and I do a lot of home do-it-yourself projects. But when you say fuel efficient SUV, does that mean that the 15 mile per gallon versus 11 mile per gallon is a better environmental impact? So is that truly being fuel efficient? If you compare an SUV to a Prius, that gets 52 miles to the gallon. So, just think about that lesser of two evils type of a claim. And then false labels. So this gives a green impression through words or images, as we've seen, like pictures, where really none exist. There also might be an impression of like a third-party endorsement. So basically, this is a fake or a misleading label. So we're going to shift a little. So we're going to talk about antibiotic soaps. So this is something that has definitely been a current topic throughout the US and globally since March of last year, although it's actually been a concern for quite a few years. And this is the use of antibiotic soaps. So this encompasses products that are labeled antibacterial, antimicrobial, or antiseptic. All of these which contain an active ingredient that is an antibiotic. These antibiotic soaps can be found either as bar soaps, liquid soaps, or foaming soaps. So these are just a few examples. So this is an antimicrobial soap. And again, these pictures are just as examples. We're not endorsing, nor are we, bringing claims to false products with the manufacturer. They're just example pictures. So here we have AlloGuard, which is an antimicrobial. This antiseptic soap, an antibacterial body wash. So to start, what defines it as an antibacterial soap? So we know when we are prescribed antibiotics by a doctor, it's usually to clear up a bacterial infection or to clear up a secondary infection that was caused by a virus. Well, in antibacterial soaps, they add an antibiotic and it's supposed to act as the active ingredient in that soap. An active ingredient is the thing inside any product that actually does the work. The rest of those ingredients are considered inert ingredients, and those are used to make that product easier to use, or they're used to carry that active ingredient to the target location. So that's just to kind of explain what that active ingredient is. Well, there were originally 23 different antibiotics that they added to these soaps to either disinfect, to reduce, or to mitigate microbial growth. Well, the Food and Drug Administration, which is mandated to protect public health by making sure products are safe and effective to use, well, they ban the use of many of these antibiotics in different types of consumer soaps and body washes. But this ban only applies to consumer soaps and liquid body washes. It does not apply to consumer hand sanitizers, right? We've heard a lot about hand sanitizers this last year, but also it doesn't apply to wipes or any products that are found in the healthcare setting. So the products which are not banned are antibiotics that are added to toothpaste. So the antibiotic that's the active ingredient in toothpaste helps to actually fight gingivitis. So of the 23 antibiotics that were used, triclosan is the most common use, and it's estimated that about 75% of the products contain this one specific antibiotic. So that means out of every 4 products, 3 of those products contain triclosan. This is going to make sense to you in just a second and when I explain triclosan. So now you have to keep in mind that the FDA regulates products based on both their safety and their effectiveness. So the reason the FDA banned these active ingredients and made the manufacturer remove them is that they did not provide any evidence or data that showed that these products are any more effective prevent an illness or the spread of certain infections than just your normal hand washing with soap and water. So they were required to provide that adding these antibiotics in the soap made it better or more effective. So from the time these products came on the market, there's been no human data to prove that these statements were true. So again, toothpaste is the exception because the manufacturers have provided that data that supports their claim that that antibiotic helps fight gingivitis. So testing done on animals of these antibiotic ingredients used in soaps. Again, remember I said there's no human data. It's all been done on animals, but it has shown that they can decrease the levels of thyroid hormone, which can cause anything from mild to severe symptoms, including depression, fatigue, weight gain, dry hair and skin, constipation, weakness, memory loss, and in some cases, even heart failure or coma. So these can be mild to very severe symptoms. But here it is. The most common antibiotic used in these products is triclosan, and triclosan is linked to increases in cancer, allergies, as well as reproductive issues in animals. And again, I want to reiterate that no studies have been done on humans to show, to determine that safety or that effectiveness. So I'm not going to go into detail, but just to summarize, it was in 2013 that the FDA gave these companies 6 years to provide data to support the need for those antibiotics in the soap, but companies still haven't provided any. So why didn't they provide it? You think that'd be kind of simple, right? The one thing is they put them in there so that they can kind of get that part of the market. They had to have something that made them stand out. So they put these antibiotics in there saying, oh, they're better for you, right? And they do a better job. Well, the problem is they didn't provide this data because it was impossible to get supporting data for this. Because washing with antimicrobial soap is no more effective than washing with plain soap and water. Because when you use an antibiotic soap, the product actually needs to stay in contact with your skin for a much longer time than it actually takes for you to wash your hands. When we're normally washing the way we normally wash, there's not enough contact time between that antibiotic and the skin in order to kill all that bacteria. Also, antibiotics are not effective against viruses, so they are ineffective in many cases. So outside that lack of data, the issue is antibiotic resistance. This is a big concern. We have limited antibiotics to help fight off bacterial infections. And when, we need to have those antibiotics working when we really need them. But when we expose bacteria to these trace amounts, like what would be in these antimicrobial soaps for these very limited amount of time, they have the potential to build up resistance, antibiotic resistance in those organisms. And that's really bad news for us. The last thing is these products are really bad for our municipal water systems. When they get washed down the drain, not good. We've always been told not to wash our prescriptions down the toilet. Well, this is exactly what you're doing when you're washing with antimicrobial soaps. So final thought on this, I promise. Please do not let that antimicrobial statement or antibacterial statement on the label give you this false sense of security that you're buying something that's better than regular soap and water. Because washing vigorously and thoroughly with soap and water, then drying with a paper towel has proven to do the job. Please don't expose yourself to antibiotics that are not needed. We want those antibiotics to work when we really need them to work. So washing with soap and water, using that paper towel, and it's that friction that also helps to get that bacteria off your hands. So soap and water works great, and they're cheaper. Okay, so 7 things you should be cleaning, but you probably don't. So even before COVID dictated how we go about our day, there are things that we should have been cleaning in your home and you probably weren't. I admit I'm one of those that wasn't cleaning a majority of these items, but I certainly do now. So to start with, oops, sorry about that. I do this all the time. Make sure, oh, darn it, why did it do that? Make sure you're washing your reusable grocery bags. So here we go. What I do, I have about 20 reusable grocery bags. I keep half in my car and half at the house. The ones that are at the house I know are definitely clean. So when I go to the grocery store, I use those bags and then I cycle them through. I put my clean bags into my car so that after I've put my groceries away, those then go to the wash machine. Other things you should do are cleaning like your drapes. These are things we don't think about, but they touch the floor, but they also are a trap for a lot of pollens and allergens. Right now, our trees are dropping, our oak trees are dropping pollen like crazy. Our cars can prove it because we have pollen all over our cleanly washed cars. So that same thing is happening. If you leave your windows open, those drapes are trapping some of that pollen. So make sure you're cleaning those. Things like your welcome mat, right? People are maybe walking across grass that has been sprayed with a pesticide, or have other things. If you have dogs, you may have on the bottom of your shoe, they're wiping it on that welcome mat and then they're coming into your house. Well, that welcome mat is trapping most of those items, but you're going to want to make sure you clean that welcome mat, on a common occurrence, right? So I clean mine about every 2 weeks, but I should probably do it more often. But also when people come in your house, you probably want them to take off their shoes because any of that residue is still going to be on the bottom of their shoes. They're going to be trapping it, bringing it through your house. Things like your trash can, right? Everybody's touching that trash can lid, so making sure you're wiping these down. This also is going to help with keeping insects out of your house because any residue on that trash can, if your kids are eating some sticky candy and they go to throw the wrapper in the trash can and they touch it, that stickiness is going to be on that trash can and it's going to attract ants and cockroaches. So cleaning, that's important. Mouse and keyboard, can't say this enough, especially right now because of, in the time where everybody's using a computer as we are right now, cleaning that, at least once a day, especially if multiple people are using it, is really important to clean off that bacteria that might be on it. And then things like your shower head, you may get in the shower every day, but your shower head's not getting washed. So cleaning this off is really important as well. And then door handles, just like your mouse, your door handles are really important because everybody is touching that door handle. So make sure you're cleaning those on a daily basis if you can. Then tips for a healthier house. So there are other things that you can do in your house to clean without exposing yourself and your family to dangerous chemicals. So keeping the bathroom well ventilated and fixing leaks and drips. This is going to help with keeping mold at bay, but it's also going to help with keeping insects from in your house since these are usually insects are in search of water. So, when you have a musty area, your insects are going to really, be attracted to those areas. And those are definitely going to be areas underneath your sinks in your bathroom and your kitchen where you may have some drips or some leaks. Cleaning mold and mildew. So this is also going to help reduce allergens in the house. Washing faucet handles, just like we just said about doorknobs, right? Faucet handles get touched, quite frequently right now. If you're in that good habit of washing your hands, so making sure you're also washing out that faucet handle. Using things like HEPA filters. These are great with reducing allergens in the air, like pollens and dander and dust. Last year, I have a daughter who lives in Oregon. Last year during those fires, a lot of people in Oregon don't have air conditioning units because it's usually not cool enough or warm enough for, to put in an AC unit. So what she did was her little standalone fans, she bought those HEPA filters and put on the back of the fan. And so as the fan ran, it pulled that smoke smell and those pollens that got into the house out of the air. She said that it was amazing how much that helped. I actually saw that on the news as well. And then washing your pillows and your bedding. So we shed dead skin continuously, and you spend a lot of time in your bed, right? So washing your pillows and that bedding is going to help you keep your bedroom healthier for you as well. Then other things you can do is using a damp cloth or a microfiber towel instead of a feather duster, right? I think about those times where you always saw the person walking around with a feather duster, just pushing that dust back and resuspending it into the air. But I guess that's job security to a point. But then replacing furniture and car seats that have torn upholstery. And those tiny fibers that come out of that upholstery can cause serious respiratory issues, especially with people who have allergies and some other issues with the respiratory. So anytime you have torn car seats, either get that fixed or just replace them. And if you can, avoid furniture that contains foam. The off-gassing of that foam inside that furniture, because it's usually a low-grade foam, when you open things up and if it smells, you know that it's off-gassing some chemical. So get natural fiber fills if you can. That's preferred. They tend to be more expensive, but they do last longer, but they're also going to be better for you and your family. And then keeping clutter to a minimum. Clutter is going to harbor dust and dander and insects. I am the bug lady, so I talk a lot about insects. The less clutter, the better for you and your health and your sanity. But you're also going to keep those insects from having a place to hide. And then if you can, please don't allow people to smoke inside the house. Ask them to step outside if they're gonna smoke, because that smoke is going to get into your furniture, it even permeates into the paint on the walls. So that's going to be with you for a long time after that cigarette is put out. So please try not to allow smoking in the house, or just take it outside. So cleaning products that have been known to cause respiratory and other symptoms, try to avoid any sort of cleaning products. We'll give you a list of great products that you can make it, in your kitchen for pennies, on the price of what you would pay for cleaning products. And then be aware of negative effects of those harsh chemicals that are found in those household cleaners. The benzenes, the formaldehydes, the acetones can be very, caustic and detrimental to your health. And then when you're shopping, be aware of those marketing strategies that we talked about, those greenwashing and those stamps of approval that are trying to lead you astray with their product. So ultimately, green practices help keep your family healthy without harming the environment. And that's really the take-home message that we want. These are the resources we use